They are two members of the newly reformed band My Sex, and they're back for a series of shows across Sydney this coming weekend. You've just heard their big 1979 hit Computer Games, so please reboot your Commodore 64, and in the 15 minutes it takes to do that, pay attention to this next segment as we welcome to Goodnight Gleysville, Steve Balbi and Don Martin from My Sex. Hello guys, how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Jeff.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks for the applause.
It's everybody gets some at this show.
It's getting cramped in here.
Yeah. Not much room, but we fit them in somehow.
We get them all in. Now, it's really great to have you guys on here. We're looking through your bio, and we've got you, My Sex active 1979 to 1985, and then reforming in 2011. There's a bit of a gap there, 1985 to 2011. What happened in those years there?
I suppose the biggest thing that happened was that Steve Gilpin, our lead singer, was involved in a car crash, and that took his life. And we all kind of felt that without Steve, that was it. So we kind of walked away from My Sex saying, unfortunately, that's it for that segment of our music career.
That's understandable, yeah.
And then, fortunately, I came across Steve Balbi and asked him if he would sing at a function that I was just sort of putting on, because I just wanted the guys from My Sex just to have a little jam at.
Oh, yes.
And I'd seen him in the Bowie show, and it was just like blew me away. And I was just impressed. Went backstage, said, how do you feel about just doing a couple of songs with me at a show, and just a private show? And he said, love to. He used to see the band in our early days.
Wow.
As a punter.
Yeah.
And so we did those gigs, that gig, and the amazing thing was that when we came backstage after it, and we were all just blown out because it was so nice to play again after such a long break, especially the songs that we'd kind of spent so many years dedicating our life to. And Steve just said, loved it, when's the next gig? And
cool.
It was like, it got us thinking. It's taken a while to sort of roll it out, but slowly we've kind of said, yes, let's just play. We've always loved playing live, and the opportunity to play live was offering itself again, and it was like, wow, fantastic.
Yeah, and so how is it now? Back together after all these years?
It's incredible high. Just to be able to sort of jump back on stage and just play the songs that you sort of just played every day of your life for a period there, and it's just lovely. And to have a live audience, to work a live audience again. And
that's the thing. What's the reception been like from the audience for you guys?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of diehard fans that are kind of really sort of kicking it along, of course, which is fantastic.
Great.
But back then, you really, a live band really, you cut your teeth on live audiences, and so performing live was a big part of your makeup, and it's great to sort of be able to do that again, and give audiences that again.
Yeah. And was there? Do you think there was in those days? Was there a bit more opportunity? There was more of a pub scene, and of course you had shows like Countdown, that sort of thing, where you could get a go and have a go and get known. Do you think it's harder these days?
You could actually go out and run a whole week. You could play 5 or 6 days a week and pull crowds, because people would go out any night of the week, and whereas now it's pretty close to sort of being Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And I think the booze buses coming in did throw a sort of spanner in the works, I suppose, as far as that's concerned. It might have saved a few lives. Probably didn't help rock and roll. But that was that kind of really slowed it right down, and a lot of venues just really had to sort of close their doors.
Yeah. Now, Steve, you're of course from the bass guitarist in Noiseworks, a pretty prominent Australian band of their own. What's it like now stepping up to be lead singer?
Oh, well, it wasn't... when I left Noiseworks, I've been singing ever since, really.
Yeah.
The Electric Hippies, and then I had a band called Universe, and so I've had a few deals... record deals as a singer songwriter, so it's easy, really, because that's what I do.
Cool.
I've never been hired as a bass player. I was never supposed to be a bass player. I just kind of got stuck behind the wheel.
Right.
Never got pulled up by the booze bus. There you go.
You're the only one that could play it, hey?
Now I read, now that you are a lead singer of My Sex that's reformed, I read that in May you did a few shows, and you came out dressed as Alex from the Stanley Kubrick film A Clockwork Orange, and at the completion of that song, you left the stage screaming like a madman. Is this true? And can you give us an example of what that was?
You want me to scream like a madman?
Yeah, well, I'll just turn your mic down a little bit.
Look, I think...
Is there some themes going on with the show?
Yeah. Look, I said to Don, when the guys asked me to join, I really wanted to be able to contribute to the band. I just didn't want to sort of sing the lyrics and And I really found that, you know, when I used to go and see My Sex, and it blew me away, they were really quite theatrical.
Oh, right.
And I thought, that's how I want to approach it. I kind of, you know, I do have a little bit of a persona that I like to sort of, it's the My Sex guy, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, it's kind of like the guy that not sure whether he wants to kiss or kick you.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and I think there's, because I hear a lot of punk in My Sex.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of punk music
That was
in
our
My Sex.
roots, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes from. You know, even the way Steve used to sing, "Don't wanna love that kind of thing."
A bit of unpredictability
with his shape of his, like, you know, it was that English accent. You know, he sang in that English tone, and so I just kind of, and I didn't think about it that much, to tell you the truth. It's just kind of the way I'm an instinctive person, and that's the way I do it. And I'd just come off the Bowie shows, and they're pretty theatrical, and audiences want to feel that, I think. You know?
Yeah. It's all part of the show, isn't it? That's not just about the singing.
You've got to have a bit of a... You're there talking about the punk and the roots in the punk. You're actually known as a new wave band, My Sex originally. It was sort of that new wave thing. Now that you're coming back, is it like the all new wave, or is it the original wave, or how are you genre? Do you think
it's a new wave?
Like
the
a
new
wave
wave
machine now.
It's always progressing. It's a very new wave. I think the new wave thing, I suppose, because we had keyboards, it kind of took what was kind of a punk edge that we kind of left New Zealand with. We were sort of pretty sort of raw and energy, but we always had this melody that came through the keyboards, or something that kind of just swung it around and gave it a whole new dimension, which was quite unique to Australia, because most bands around here were two guitar bands at that stage. Mm-hmm. And we sort of came in with this thing that had this melody, which was great because it made it give us 50% female audience, you know. And it just sort of gave another sort of sound to it. And then next thing we knew, and probably because we were doing that computer stuff before it even came out of England, and next thing we knew, there was this sort of wave coming out of New Zealand, out of England, which was called New Wave, which that we were doing keys way before that.
Wow.
And did you use a computer to come up with the effects in computer games, this song? Was that like
it was
bit of a groundbreaking thing?
More the sort of the latest technology that was in electronics, you know, and just experimenting in the studio and out of the studio and with keyboards and that, and just creating. I mean, you know, it was very experimental. We were using silicon and sticking things on pots and just, you know, generally trying to create sounds and get them to hold while you're doing live gigs and not go out of tune and stuff. Because that's all changed now. There's a lot of digital stuff to be done, but we're pioneering in that sense as far as bringing keys into songs.
Oh, cool. Yeah, right. Okay. Now, I want to ask, this is a bit of a family show here, but I'm not sure how well you can answer this, but I do want to ask about the name, My Sex. How did you come up with that name? Where does it come from? To me, it sounds like something the Apple Computer Company would come up with if they went into the adult industry or something like that. But for you guys, where did you get it from? It's from a song, is that right?
Yeah, maybe we should call ourselves iSex.
Yeah.
Get a sponsor.
Something.
What happened was actually when we were sort of cutting our teeth and we were kind of doing our apprenticeship as My Sex, because we'd all come from different types of music. And we were all travelling the country, which is small. New Zealand's very small, and we're crossing each other's paths. And after a while, you start to see through the country who's kind of going to work and not work. And Steve Gilpin had approached me at a gig, and he said, "Look, you always get crowds at your gigs, and I don't when I play in the same town as you. And one day I'd really like to play with you." And so he said, "Look, if ever you break up, give us a yell," which that happened about a year later. And I gave him a call and I said, "Look, let's try and do something." And we were doing a song by the Stranglers called My Sex, MYSEX. And we're sitting around trying to think of a name, and she said, "Look, that's kind of a punchy, you know, it's kind of a strong song, and it's a strong name." And I said, you know, about the Kiwi thing, you know, why don't we just make it MISEX to sort of give it a bit of a different slant?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the main thinking was just, you got to be careful with your name, because if you call yourself Iron Maiden, then it's kind of heavy metal, and if you call yourself Rastafarians, it's going to be reggae. So I said, look, with My Sex, it's kind of got, you don't know what it is, and if it appears in print or someone says it, everyone's going to go, what sort of music's that? You know, what is it? And the curiosity factor will sort of drive it along as well. Plus, you get a lot of bad publicity as well, because we had a gig refused to us because the council wouldn't allow us to put a poster up with the council's name on it and My Sex, you know. It sort of came out of that. And the song was a Stranglers song called My Sex.
My
yeah,
Sex,
so, yeah.
Right, okay. So
I'm
that's
so
okay.
glad you asked that question because I had no
You
idea.
didn't know that.
And it's short.
There you
It's
go.
a short
Yeah,
name.
yeah, that's
My
right.
Sex. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
it's got
great.
the,
Yeah.
got the thing.
Might inspire another character for next time. Yeah.
It may too. It may involve a little bit of leather.
Well, My Sex was pretty big on there.
Okay, we're changing the whole show, really. So obviously you are back together, and obviously you have I'm sure you still have plenty of fans out there that are willing and looking forward to coming along to see you play again. So the shows start this Thursday, the 14th, and you're starting up in Newcastle. Is that right? Up at
Yes,
Cambridge,
Newcastle, the first
Hotel.
one. Then DY
on Friday,
Friday.
then the Bridge at Roselle, just up
And
the
that's
road.
your local one, yeah. That's where all
Saturday
your
night.
listeners should
Saturday
come.
night.
You can walk to
Yeah.
that one and walk home again.
Definitely, and so you don't have to worry
And
about
that's a
the
good
booze
old
bus.
rock and roll gig
Oh,
that
yeah.
hasn't died. I
Yeah.
mean, Sydney's very lucky to have a few gigs like that kind of allow
Great.
bands to sort of play live and do full shows
Yep.
like we do.
Yep.
And then on Sunday, the last one in Cronulla,
The Brass Monkey.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so
The big one. Yeah, that's great.
So obviously you're going to play computer games, but what other songs are that's the most famous song? But
Oh, just probably all the singles, and I mean we had a lot as a band. We had lots of singles,
Yeah.
so and
Is this
exposure
one of
to Countdown, and did a lot of television. So we're doing just about all of our singles.
and People, this was another one, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yeah. This is one of our strongest songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
this song. Yeah.
I can picture people getting down and just dancing away to it all weekend. Yeah.
It's a strong song.
Excellent. All right. So Jeff,
Isn't that good? Well, one of the things we like to do with our guests that we have in, we like to play a little quiz game show with them. We had Rick Price in a few weeks back, and we did the Rick Price is Right with him, and asked him a few questions and stuff like that. But we're thinking about we can't really do that with you. We weren't really sure we could play a sex game or something. I don't know. It wasn't really working.
Sex is Right.
Yeah. So, but what we
Right.
thought was because your biggest, most famous song is computer games, we thought we'd put together the computer quiz and see. People go theme music.
Thank you.
so to test how much you actually know about computer games, so I don't know if you know anything about computer games, but we've got a few little sound grabs.
Atari.
To see that perhaps if they inspired the song.
Okay,
To begin
so
with.
we're going to roll a little grab of a computer game, and you've got to see if you can guess what game it is that it's from. Okay?
They're shaking their heads.
gonna
We're
show-
not looking too good here.
Is it going to show my age?
Oh, no,
Here's
they're pretty
the
old.
first one here.
It starts with a T, doesn't it?
Close.
It's a little. Yeah. Pac-Man.
Yes, very good.
Oh, okay.
That's-
So retro
So
computer
that was pretty
games.
easy. Yeah, well, it's
Okay.
we're talking about retro music, retro
Okay.
bands. So the next one.
Here's another one. Again, retro.
Space Invaders.
Oh,
Yes,
straight out.
you guys know all about it.
Here we go.
They're
Here's a
really
little
up
bit
to
recent. A little bit more recent. I think these are some of Danny's cousins. They drive a little racing
Can we ring a
car.
friend?
Well, we've got the phone. I don't think it's plugged in.
It takes about an hour to ring somebody out of here.
Oh,
Think of maybe Leichhardt he could be seen in.
yeah, it's something to do with
Tell
Italian
Sam.
Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
Ah, I
very
know
good.
Good.
What else you got there, Jeff?
What else we got? Here we go.
Leichhardt.
What was that one? We'll try that one again.
Oh, that's
That's
Ticket tennis? Table tennis?
the sound that people dread in offices all around Australia. I
That's when
think
something's gone wrong with your computer.
that's the error sound, I think, isn't it, Jeff? What else you got? One more anymore?
We got one more. Here we go.
Okay.
Last one.
Oh, that's not a computer game. I think you should know what that one is, though, Steve.
I can't hear it.
Oh, he's
Can't
lost
you hear it?
My headphones aren't.
Oh,
It's,
well,
see,
that,
it was-
that- that
it's not like
put an end-
Noiseworks.
They put an end to that joke.
Oh, was that Noiseworks?
It's the Noiseworks song.
bummer.
I got it right.
We'll play that computer error again. I think the headphones are broken.
This is going well. One more. The
I was
last
so
one.
out of it, I wouldn't have remembered.
Oh, and of course, at the end of everything, you have to shut down. Sorry.
A
That's
window,
just the
Windows
shutdown
closing
sound.
down.
That's
That
it.
is-
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations. I think they've got about 80% correct there.
I think so. I think that's
We'll pay that. That was very good.
When we're back next week.
You are back.
You get to play for the car next week.
And we've proved that you are qualified to sing a song about computer games.
Thank you very much.
You know enough about them to do that. So there you go. So I think on that note, Jeff, it's time to shut down this segment. So guys, thank you so much for coming in. It's been wonderful having you.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks for
we've
having
learned a
us.
lot about My Sex, and we're excited that you're playing this weekend.
Yeah. So best of luck with the shows, and don't forget they're on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And for Sydney, it's at the Bridge in Rozelle, the famous rock and roll pub.
On Saturday night.
Head down there to Victoria Road and you'll see My Sex on Saturday night. So thanks again, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
guys.
Excellent.